And we are back here on this Thursday morning as we close in on the 143rd running of the Kentucky Derby. NBC racing analyst Laffit Pincay joins us here on Big Board Sports and a field of 20. I love the betting race every year. To me, this is the biggest betting race of the year because you have no idea what's going to happen. Laffit, let's start there. How wide open is this race on Saturday?
It seems like we say that every year, and that's the nature. Whenever you look at a horse race with 20 horses, it's the first thought that comes to mind. Well, it has to be wide open, and 11, 12, 13 horses could win. And yeah, that theoretically is true. And I think for a long time, going back many years, the Derby was looked at as somewhat of a crapshoot, of which you'd immediately toss the favorite. We went 20 years at one point without a favorite winning from the late 70s until Pincay Pegasus ended that drought in 2000. Right now, the trend has been extraordinarily chalky. 8 of the last 17 Derbies have been won by favorites, and 4 in a row. So, yeah, you look at the race, it's wide open. One of so many horses can win, but I feel like we've said that almost every year, and in the last several years, it's been favorite after favorite after favorite. But no standout. There's no American Pharaoh in this field.
Laffit, let's get to the headline locally because we can localize this story. A local owner and, of course, Chad Brown, Mechanicville trainer, if not the top trainer, one of in the country. And Practical Joke will start in post position number 19. He said on this show earlier in the week that he wanted to be a little further in, not this far out, not thrilled to get post number 19. Your thoughts on the post position and Practical Joke's chances to win the race on Saturday?
I've always admired his talent, his ability. We don't seem to care as much about foundation and back class anymore, but it should still matter. And you're talking about a dual Grade 1 winner at the age of 2. He won 2 Grade 1 races at 2. If you look at his resume, it's been graded stakes appearance after graded stakes appearance after grade. He's faced some of the best 3-year-olds already. The knock is, as a result of his pedigree, and because he hasn't been able to really punch it in late in his last few races, the knock is that he's going to be best served as a middle-distance horse. I don't believe that because I don't think middle-distance horses run third in races like the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, run second in the Fountain of Youth, run second in the Bluegrass. I think he still needs to develop that killer instinct, find that fifth gear, and I don't know that we've quite seen it just yet. And if it all comes together at the right time for Practical Joke, I'm thinking you could see his best race in a 2-turn effort in the Derby. I'm disappointed that Chad Brown isn't happy with the post position. I never mind the auxiliary gate. I'd rather be towards the outside than the inside, but what do I know? I don't train the horse. They were tinkering with ideas about blinkers, but they're going to keep those off. From a talent standpoint, I don't think he has to take a backseat to anybody. It's just a question of whether or not he can thrive at the 1.25 mile distance.
We're talking with NBC racing analyst Laffit Pincay, 6:34 post time. You can watch the race on NBC and News Channel 13. Of course, Laffit will be on the coverage for that NBC team. Post number 17, Irish War Cry, will break from post position number 17. No horse has ever won from that post position. What's up with that? Can any horse win from that post position, or are we making too big of a deal out of that?
No, there's nothing wrong with the number 17 post position. If you believe in the Derby gods, and if you feel that higher sources are at work here when it comes to the outcome of a Kentucky Derby, and if it bothers you that there's some sort of hex over the 17 post position, yeah, sure. And some really good horses have been defeated from the 17. Point Given is the one that comes to mind. If you liked Irish War Cry going in, you're not letting that 17 post position. You're not going to feel any worse about his chances. I think it's a perfect draw for a horse who likes to do his best running close to the lead, just off the pace, and into the clear. Rajiv Mirage and Irish War Cry are going to fall into a beautiful, beautiful trip. And he moved, as a result of the post-position draw, Irish War Cry went way up the ladder for me.
Okay, Classic Empire is the morning line favorite, as you know. Always Dreaming, though, and McCracken not far behind. What do you make of the favorites?
Classic Empire, he's Dennis Rodman, right? He's a bad boy. And I don't know if he's really smart. I don't know if he's a lunatic, a little bit of both, but he marches to the beat of his own drum. If he doesn't want to train, he doesn't train. If he's not into it that morning, he's not going to do it. So the Cassies have really had their hands full bringing him along, getting him focused and settled, and looking like a professional thoroughbred racehorse as he did in the Arkansas Derby. That's the mental aspect. Physically, the foot abscess, the back issues, there's been one hiccup after the next, and maybe they got him back just in time, and maybe he's ready to peak just in time because his Breeders' Cup Juvenile race would win this Kentucky Derby. For me personally, I don't like a 3-year-old having to deal with that many setbacks, so I'll play against Classic Empire, but from a talent standpoint, I think he is probably the most God-gifted, talented racehorse in the field. It's a matter of, does he bring his A game, and how does he respond to this massive, massive crowd?
Laffit, let me ask you about Always Dreaming. You got the combo of Todd Pletcher, Johnny Velasquez. When you get to Saratoga, that's a combo that everyone bets on no matter what. 5-1 odds on Always Dreaming. Is this a good bet on Saturday?
Hey, he's one of the best position riders in the country. I would think there has to be a Derby out there with Pletcher and Velasquez's name on it. They've ridden together and had so much success together over the years, but they've never won a Derby together. They've each won one on their own. I went with Always Dreaming, and it's just my nature to be stubborn, and I think I'm being stubborn at this point because I haven't loved what I've heard and seen from Always Dreaming since arriving here at Churchill Downs. He's been very difficult to handle, very difficult to gallop. You wonder about how much energy he's expending in the days leading up to the race, and he's another one like Classic Empire. You really have to watch him in the gap, in the walkover, in the paddock. How is he behaving himself? If Todd Pletcher can get him to relax, and certainly relax during the course of the race, he's going to be a major factor. McCracken couldn't be training any better. Rave reviews regarding how he's coming into the Derby. And Ian Wilkes being a Carl Nafsker protege. Ian Wilkes, who was the exercise rider of Unbridled when he won the Derby. He was assistant trainer to Ian Wilkes when Street Sense won the Kentucky Derby. If they know how to use a prep race as a prep race, that's what you saw from McCracken in the Bluegrass. That team lost zero confidence in McCracken when he ran third in the Bluegrass Stakes. I think you see a much better version of McCracken and a horse who is already proven on this racetrack.
And Laffit, are you already on record as taking Always Dreaming?
I'm in.
Yeah.
Stubbornly. With very little conviction, I am in on Always Dreaming.
So you're not holding till Saturday.
I felt a lot better about him about a week ago.
Okay. How about Gunnevera? Right in the middle of the pack. Are you surprised at all at 15-1 in the morning line?
Seems high.
Yeah.
Seems high. For a horse that you'd like to see a little more pace, for him to enhance that furious late run he does possess that we saw in the Fountain of Youth. I thought he ran fine in the Florida Derby. He got beat, but it's always difficult to close at Gulfstream Park. It's more of a speed-favoring track, though he was able to overcome that and still win the Fountain of Youth. I think you see something closer to the Fountain of Youth version of Gunnevera than the Florida Derby version of Gunnevera. It's only a question of whether or not that's good enough. But what a great story. He's Antonio Sano, twice kidnapped in his native Venezuela, a part owner of Gunnevera, delivered the ransom to the captors of Antonio Sano to free him. You'll see this feature on NBC. Javier Castellano was just elected into the Hall of Fame. He's never hit the board in 10 Kentucky Derby mounts. He's from Venezuela, the entire country pulling for this horse, much like Cañonero II many decades back. It's an incredible story. We'll see if the horse, who was orphaned at birth and just a $16,000 purchase, is ready for prime time.
Hey, Laffit, we talk about this being a great betting race. We've gone through, some of the favorites that you're still going to get good value on. How about some of the long shots, some of the bombs that may hit the board on Saturday?
Hence is kind of the buzz horse, and I would probably like him a little bit more if so many other people didn't. The wise guys, to me, that's always kind of a you zig when they zag. Looking at Lee and Sonneteer, watch the Arkansas Derby when you get a chance, and the way they're closing, finishing third and fourth, going a mile and an eighth, both of them will relish every step of that mile and a quarter. All along, Steve Asmussen has known that you wouldn't see the best of looking at Lee until the distances got longer, mile and an eighth, mile and a quarter. He's a late threat. Sonneteer, yeah, he's a maiden, but, IRAP just broke his maiden in the Bluegrass. Why can't Sonneteer perhaps become the first ever maiden to win the Kentucky Derby? Unlikely, but possible for both of them. For both of them, you're going to need pace. And they might be coming up against the grain a little bit from a pace standpoint, especially when you had horses like Malagasy and Battalion defect earlier in the week.
All right, Laffit, listen, I know it's busy, and thanks for squeezing us in. We looking forward to seeing the whole gang and the coverage on NBC starting about 2:30 in the afternoon on Saturday, 6:34 post time. And cross your fingers, everyone will, that we get a dry track and a nice weather day at Churchill Downs. Thanks again for joining us here on Big Board Sports.
Anytime. Really appreciate it. Thank you.